Welcome to Soltron. This is the video review for Black Shinkalion Ogre. And here you can see the box artwork. You can see they go really hard on the artwork here. He just looks really great. And then the toy itself, you can see some of the things you can do on the back. He's got a lot of different configurations, a lot of different ways you can put him together. The directions are just newsprint, and he does come with some really nice, like shiny gold foil stickers that I did not put on. And here he is with the next two generations of Shinkalion and Transformers. And here's a 360 view of this guy. And this is not really considered an official combination. Like, I think in his normal mode, he's not supposed to have like this lightning on his back. It's supposed to be on his hips. And I'll show that off too. And then his two clubs are supposed to be separate. This is more like his combined mode. But overall, he's got a very interesting look. And especially, I really do enjoy the Oni kind of look to him. And he's got like Raijin kind of thing going on with all the lightning as well. So it really brings in a lot of that Japanese folklore. But overall, I would say his proportions are pretty awkward looking. He's got very narrow hips and legs compared to like the most recent generation of Shinkalion, where the proportions just look so much better. Like, they've come a long way. I really do enjoy the new figures. And then the quality of this guy is also not the best. He definitely feels like a 7 to me. Like, the plastic quality is just not there. He's got some real problems, this guy. And this is actually the second time I bought him. I just got tempted into buying him again now that I'm back into Shinkalion. And yeah, I definitely regret it. This was not a great purchase. So let's take a look at his head sculpt here. So he's got his mask on, and this does come with some pink stickers to give him pupils, but this is a pretty cool looking Oni mask, and he's got an opening and closing mouth, which looks kind of weird because there's like just a hinge inside his mouth. There's no empty space, and it's kind of hard to get under his chin to open and close it. But yeah, that's a really cool look. Another thing I don't like about this guy is he does have rubber parts. So this helmet is rubber, this lightning. Some of these lightning effects are rubber. This horn here is rubber. But not too much. They could have gone a lot crazier with the rubber, but it's not too bad. But yeah, so this is one of his configurations. Another one would be with him without his mask on. And then he's got his horn extended. And you can see his real head sculpt, which is pretty awesome. It's got a huge brow, so it's hard to see his eyes, but he's got really metallic red eyes in there. But it's really buried. And then he's got this huge chest section. He actually kind of looks good from the side, actually. But yeah, his proportions are all just a little bit off, unfortunately. And that kind of ruins the whole guy for me. And plus the quality doesn't feel good. He's definitely kind of on par with those Chinese train robots. But yeah, but basically, like, these pieces have a bunch of pegs. So there's a lot of things you can do with them. You can just put them back down here in like the bottom, kind of almost at his knee, and they can become kind of like hip armor down here. And then you take these little wheel pieces and these just get oriented back to his wings instead. There we go. This is kind of one of his stock configurations where he's got the lightning on his hips and then the wings on his back. And this looks pretty cool as like an anti-Hayabusa Black Shinkalion. This doesn't look too bad. And then another thing he can do with his club accessory. So this is two weapons in one. They connect with this connection piece, which serves a few other functions. But he can just dual wield his clubs, which also looks pretty cool, actually. So these are really great looking weapons that give him a lot of personality. And another thing they can do is they can telescope down. So that's really cool. Like thematically, he works really well. He's like an Oni, and he's also like a demon of lightning who plays the drums. So these things all kind of fit together, which I like. And as you're seeing, a lot of his parts are just kind of like falling off, which is kind of an annoying aspect of this figure. Is like his hip lightning was falling off, his wings fall off. He's just got a lot going on, and his posability is just kind of wrong. He just doesn't work. So, yeah, but this is another mode. And yeah, and his wings can kind of like, they can pivot up and down. So they got some posability. They're just really on there on a friction joint. And then they can kind of like close in and out, which is nice. So they've got some extra articulation there. So that's actually pretty cool. But then the way they attach to these shoulders is kind of bad. Like they're very easy to just knock off because they're just held in. This one seems to be doing better. They're just held in with these friction joints, and they're very shallow, and they just friction in to the back of his shoulders here. So not the best design on his wings. It would be better if his wings were like closer to his body, but it makes for a pretty overall cool look. It's just unfortunately he just feels bad in hand, and he's not fun to play with. Partly due to his limited articulation. Like he's got a really good ball joint neck, which is very nice. And then he's got 360 on the shoulder here. And then he's got kind of outward motion, but he's got these wheels that get in the way. So this was like the first generation of Shinkalion, so they actually integrated the wheels in the transformation, which I kind of like. And then he does have a bicep swivel, and he does have an elbow joint, which is more than 90 degrees. So he's got pretty good upper body articulation. He's got no waist swivel, and this is where things all fall apart. He's got these weird hip joints, which give you this weird like knock-kneed looking kind of look. And then he's got one click out here, which is 45 degrees. And then, yeah, I think that's it for his hip articulation, actually. He cannot kick forward or backwards. These are just pivot joints only. He can only hinge out. That's all they can do. And that's especially awkward because he does have knees, but the knees are, yeah, these are really gross knees. He's got like double jointed knees actually, but that's pretty pointless when he doesn't have any actual hip articulation. So yeah, the legs are just really awkward, and that's where everything just completely falls apart. He does have like knee swivel, and he doesn't have, his ankles rock, but they rock the wrong way. So yeah, just really, really bad articulation, especially everything above the waist is good, and then everything just completely disintegrates down here. Oh yeah, and I guess as long as I'm talking about the accessories, so here's like the rubber lightning part, and then you can get these things, which can also double as swords, which is pretty cool. So you got a lot of weapon choices with this guy. You could probably even make like a bow kind of weapon. He probably does that in the show or something. Why not? But yeah, he's got a lot going on. Yeah, he's just not fun to pose at all. And if that wasn't bad enough, if we just get all his weapons out of the way, he also has massive parts forming. These are all the pieces that are just leftover pieces that you can't even use in his robot mode. These are just leftover parts that go nowhere for his robot mode. And most of these parts are intended because he has a third robot mode where he combines with another first generation Shinkalion figure. So basically this, let's see. How do you do this? This, maybe he has to take his waist off, but this whole part opens up here. So all of this will split open theoretically. Okay, there he goes. So there you go. His whole chest hollows open, and then you shove another train inside of his chest, and that's kind of his combined mode. And then the other train has the same kind of waist joint. So you put their legs on, and then these legs become feet. Unfortunately, I don't have any of the first generation Shinkalion figures anymore, so I can't really show you that, except I've got it here. In the picture, you can see that the other train shoves through his chest, and then he gets, like, his legs become like feet platforms, and then these extra pieces just become like knee stabilizers, so the whole thing doesn't just flop over. That's like the whole purpose of these. So his whole lower body still has that same broken articulation where his hips can just kick out. But yeah, this will basically split in half and they'll become feet for the combined mode. Somehow, I forget how this works, but they make very ugly feet. I remember that. Yeah, it's something like this. Yeah, something like that is how the feet would end up looking when he's standing on them. So yeah, yeah, this doesn't feel good. I think it's just they wanted to do too much with this figure, and it kind of destroyed it. There's just too much going on. They were trying to innovate by making this cool little combination where another train shoves through his chest, and then you get these additional parts forming pieces which have to fit, which actually do a good job. These fit over his original fists, and now you get like longer fists. So you can get like a 3-part combining robot or something, or a 2-part combining robot, I guess, like 2 robots becoming one, which is cool on paper, but in execution, it's just very poor for this guy. It's really unfortunate. I'm hoping they remake this design as one of the newer Shinkalion figures, because I think he deserves another chance. I think he just got... They were just trying to do too much with him. So, yeah, to transform this guy into train mode, you just like fold up his horn, and then you kind of just fold all these random little bits back together. And then his whole... Oh yeah, I should find out where that crest flew off. These have like little crests that peg in here. And then you just basically yank this whole section, and it's going to come up over his head. I haven't transformed this guy in a long time, so I might get some things wrong. But basically, this is all going to sandwich together, and then you're going to rotate this piece back and this other flap back. So he actually does pretty good from a parts forming perspective as far as this goes, because his whole upper body is here except for his arms. And then this is all just going to fold in here. This horn will can go backwards for train mode. And there you go, you get like a decent looking train, and then these white nylon pieces are going to peg into the back of the train just to hold everything together. Okay, there you go, train number 1. So here's the front of the train car. Looks pretty cool, very demonic, interesting looking. It would have been cool if it had a giant skull in the front, but maybe that was too ridiculous. And then you take all his leg pieces. So it's pretty nice that these are all kind of one consistent piece. You're going to fold his knees backwards, and then you just fold his toes up and the hitch. And then, oh yeah, and then you need to telescope his legs down somehow. There we go. Oh, I guess I never extended his knee pad. Oh well. And then you get that half of the train. And the nice thing about this is all of his leg and hip section, so really no parts forming happening there. So that's actually pretty decent of them. And there you get the back section of the train, which also looks very cool. Very Batman train looking. So that's pretty good. And then you still have, unfortunately, you have all these other parts that need to get taken care of. So you still have his arms. Oh, I totally forgot. He's got like this partner bird, which is really just extra parts that they needed to figure out. So let me put this guy together. Okay, so here's his bird. I don't know, Thunderbird. and he basically carries all the extra junk that the robot doesn't use. I could kind of picture like this bird flying in and then combining with the robot, which is kind of cool. But yeah, he's just made of junk. He's just got so many random little bits on him. He looks pretty good from the top, but any other angle it just does not work. And then to add insult to injury, I don't even think this fits anywhere on him. I couldn't find a space, but I might just be wrong. And then yeah, as we're going into training mode, here's his arms. They do, yeah, so these are gonna like straighten out like this, and then his arms will, like, they do a cool thing where they pull out a little bit and then there's like a little armor flap on a spring. So that's kind of cool. That makes him look a little bit more interesting in robot mode. And then basically the arm's gonna straighten up there. You're going to fold the fist back, and that's basically your third train car. And this train car looks like this. So you got to take all your bird parts now. And this is kind of, to me, this is the whole reason the bird exists, is just because there's all these extra little bits for the combine mode and everything that this robot needs to do, that you just end up with junk parts. Okay, so we're going to put all these gold bits away. And these red bits are not going to fit in the train either, so we're going to get rid of those. And now we're just going to get the bird integrated into this last train car. So you're going to just open up the bird's chest, fold his head in, and then you fold his wings down, and you get this little module. And then you're going to get, actually, you're just going to peg this guy in place. So you got to get this, move this peg down, you're going to move this peg around here, and now this is going to peg in to the back of the train here. Okay, so you get this thing, and then you're going to get these little armor bits to just cover up the rest of this train car. And then these also have to have pegs that just fold down. And there you go, you got a final train car. So there you go, your 3 train cars. And I'm not gonna bore you with this, but I'll just fast forward. These all combine. And here you go, here's all the extra little bits just kind of like assembled into this, I don't know, it kind of looks like a chariot. It's just like, everything's just kind of mashed together. There's no really rhyme or reason. It just looks horrible. This looks like everything's an accident. It looks like a fan mode. I don't know. It just doesn't work. So anyway, that's basically the review of this guy. I do not like him. I regret buying him a second time. I wish I'd learned my lesson, but there we go. I'd say like the fun factor of this guy is probably like a 1. Everything's just fussy and weird. The parts forming just doesn't work like the new Shinkalion. They just really redesigned everything in a really intelligent way. And just, I get they were just probably trying something new out and seeing what they could make. And unfortunately, they ended up with this catastrophe. But yeah, I hope you liked that review, and I'll see you in the next one. And you can find this guy on eBay if you're interested.